Hi everyone. I've been offline for quite some time, doing some of my own processing and healing and self-reflecting and contemplating, and I appreciate the support of the handful of people that are close to me to help me go through that. And I'm working through a lot and a lot of pain and a lot of feelings to process. And for me, boundaries have been always very, very important, especially since my recovery. And those boundaries help me to navigate relationships. And it's those boundaries that help me realize just how abusive my relationship with the king was. And, that prompted me to realize that, if I want to love myself, then, I had to end that relationship because it was abusive. And there was no way that I was going to see that relationship end up being a healthy relationship. And that was back in 2008, so 17, 18 years ago. And as I look at what's going on now with Canadian politics and all that kind of stuff, it's like they've gone insane. And, lots of talk about sovereignty and, fictional constructs, which quote unquote Canada or Alberta or BC or any of these constructs, they're not sovereign because they're fiction. And even the king himself admitted that as much in his throne speech. And so, people are arguing about sovereignty, but that's not what they're actually talking about. And the powers that be are not interested in humanity and the welfare of the people. They're surrendering whatever authority is left to globalists to have these globalist entities, which are not democratic or any of that kind of stuff, making decisions for the world. And I know this scares the shit out of people, and it's hard for many, but sovereignty is about being able to stand on one's own and provide for oneself and work with others within their tribe to do the same, because in the end we are social beings, and the social construct that most people live under right now is abusive and violent. It is not serving people, and because of that, needs aren't being met. People are not, falling into addiction and depression and suicide and all kinds of nasty stuff because our needs aren't being met, and they never have been met by the state. They never can be met by the state. Needs are always met by our family and our tribes because we are tribal people. And it's up to us to restore our tribe so that our needs are being met. And that can't happen if people are going through addictions or behaving in narcissistic ways. I'm not calling people narcissists, but sometimes the behaviors fit some of those protocols of describing that kind of behavior, and that behavior is not okay. And so, the powers that be are acting like narcissists. But even, people struggling in relationships, they're acting out and behaving in unhealthy ways. And so for me, my boundaries have been set so that I can navigate this. But I admit, I struggle because it breaks my heart and it's painful to be a witness to how people are behaving and treating one another. And, there are days where I feel quite lonely. Um, I'm blessed with having a few people in my life that I trust, that have demonstrated the capacity to be able to navigate relationship and conflicts and disagreements in a healthy way. Um, and I work hard to hold space for people. That's what the Sacred Heart Circle is all about. That's what my offerings are about too, is to be able to help people, if they're dealing with conflict or any of that kind of stuff, to hold space and to help people navigate that. And that's what my offering for teaching the Pace of Arts is all about too, is, let's gather and let's train. Let's, do this on a regular basis where we're going through and immersing ourselves in this type of environment and support and tribe, so that we can learn, so we can connect to it and experience it and build knowledge and wisdom and all that kind of stuff to be able to hold the charge of what it means to be in a tribe, so we can decolonize ourselves from, how people currently live as feudal serfs to the king. This is a very, very different approach to life. And I know it's scary and it's uncomfortable. But what I'm witnessing going on in the world, this is not good. And this is going to result in, I still believe, millions, if not billions, of people dying because of war and famine and, all kinds of horrid things, because there are people on this planet who are very much interested in greed, power, and destruction, and they'll burn this world down if they are given the chance. And that's why I feel that this next cleansing is going to be a fire, not necessarily actual fire, although there's lots of places that are on fire right now. But these political, economic, corporate structures are going to burn down. And the more we're dependent on them, the more impact that's going to have on those who are dependent. And I've been advocating for 20 years to be able to navigate this so we can restore our independence and be able to grow our own food and provide our own shelter and steward the land as we're supposed to, within the constructs of our tribes. But people still want to try to save or change the system. And I'm telling you, it's burning down. It's going to crash and burn catastrophically. And I know that in my heart. I see it happening. It's, people talk about when the shit hits the fan. Well, the shit has already hit the fan. And the shit's flying all over the place. So my heart is heavy. I'm hurting, and parts of me are scared, and it's painful to be a witness to this, but I will continue to do my best to hold space and help people navigate this. But I also need support, and because I'm traveling across this land, and my intent was to build land arcs so that we had spaces for people to be able to land and learn and connect and figure this out in a peaceful, loving way. Um, but I need help. I can't do this by myself. And, I'm doing what I can with the resources I have. Um, but it's challenging. So, so I know I've been asked to connect with others and with groups that are already established and that sort of thing, and I'll contemplate that. But I also know that there's a certain purpose for me walking this path, and I trust in that. But I also trust in the key people in my life, and so we'll see where this goes. Thanks, Andy, for watching. Hope you have a good evening.